12 movies, 33 years. One guy just will not stop getting hunted by his own government. This is Sniper, No Nation. And I'm about to tell you if entry number 12 is a reload or just running on fumes.
Here's the thing about the Sniper franchise that nobody talks about. Most long-running DTV action series get worse as they go. This one's actually done the opposite the last few installments, and No Nation either keeps that streak alive or it's the one that finally breaks it. Let's get into it.
Quick, spoiler-free setup. Brandon Beckett, the son, played by Chad Michael Collins, is part of an elite Black Ops unit called GRIT. A covert operation in the fictional country Costa Verde goes sideways, becomes an international incident, and the US government does what governments in these movies always do: disavows everyone and brands its own soldiers as terrorists. So now Brandon's on the run from the country he served. His allies have been wiped out by a mercenary group called the Iron Legion, and his buddies are sitting in a cell waiting to be executed. Enter Dad, Tom Berenger as Thomas Beckett, the original Sniper from 1993, because apparently family reunions in this franchise only happen when someone's about to be shot. It's a direct sequel to last year's Sniper, The Last Stand, so if you haven't seen that one, you'll still follow this, but you'll get more out of it if you have.
Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is the first entry directed by someone who's actually worked inside this franchise before, and that matters more than you'd think. Stick around, because the back half of this movie does something this series almost never does. Trevor Calverley steps up to director here after shooting the previous film as cinematographer, and it shows. This is genuinely one of the better-looking entries in the series. Clean coverage, geography you can actually follow during the firefights, none of that muddy, handheld chaos a lot of DTV action leans on to hide a small budget. The action itself is largely practical, which I always want to give credit for. It's brutal, it's varied, you get convoy ambushes, close quarters stuff, the sniper duel set pieces the series is built around, and it doesn't feel like it's padding runtime. At 95 minutes, this thing moves.
Berenger is still the anchor. Even this deep into a franchise, he sells the exhaustion of a guy who keeps getting pulled back into war. Collins has grown into the lead role too. By installment 12, he's finally got the gravitas to carry scenes opposite his on-screen father, instead of just standing next to him. Everyone else is solidly fine. Nobody's embarrassing themselves, nobody's stealing the movie either. This is a two-hander held up by two guys who've clearly done this before. Now, the honest criticism, and this is where reviews are split, the plotting is functional, not inspired. You've got a corrupt prime minister, a mercenary army with a cool name, and a government disavows its hero's structure the series has used before. If you're coming in expecting the screenplay to break new ground, it doesn't. Some critics have called it flat and predictable, and I get that. This isn't a movie that's going to convert someone who thinks the franchise ran out of ideas 5 sequels ago. What it is doing is executing the formula with more competence than usual.
Okay, if you don't want anything spoiled, this is your exit. Skip ahead now. Still here? Good, because the third act is genuinely the most interesting thing about this movie. The film spends its first hour setting up what looks like the most obvious ending this franchise has ever telegraphed, and then swerves hard in the final stretch. It's not a twist that comes out of nowhere. There are a couple of quiet setups earlier that pay off, but it's a bigger risk than a franchise entry this deep usually takes. It also ends on a direct cliffhanger, setting up a 13th film. So if you were hoping this was the one that finally closes the book on the Becketts, it isn't.
So, is Sniper No Nation worth your time? If you've checked out on this franchise, this won't be the one that pulls you back in. But if you're still riding with it, this is one of the more well-made entries in a while. Sharper direction, better performances than the formula probably deserves, and a third act that actually takes a swing. Let me know in the comments, are you still watching these? What number would it take for you to finally tap out? Subscribe if you want the review for number 13 whenever it inevitably shows up. See you in the next one.